come to Dane's Dyke today and I'd like to share this strange and highly unusual account. Ideally we'd have a large house stood in mature grounds to tell this story, but you'll have to settle for Dane's Dyke. And I believe it to be a true story, and we're going back at least 10 years, and somewhere in East Yorkshire, that's as close as I will say, there's a large country house stood in its own grounds. These people are farming people, and I have spoken to the lady in question, and she did tell me in great detail what they experienced on this night years ago. But first, a little background detail. On this night the couple were in bed, and accompanying them was their little dog, a Jack Russell Terrier, which was very keen, always alert. And they said it used to sleep between them on top of the bed. But for some unusual reason, on this particular night, it stood at the bottom of the bed with its feet on the wooden board at the bottom of the bed, looking out across the grounds and onto the fields in the distance. Bearing in mind this is in the darkness. Unusual behaviour. This dog is almost like a sentry. It's on guard. And they found it unusual, but obviously eventually they go to sleep. Some point during the night the lady of the couple wakes up because she could hear in the distance a very, very large and powerful roar, growl, a mixture of many things, but the lung capacity on whatever it was carried through the night. Being farming people, she could tell roughly where this had come from, and she estimated that it was probably about 3/4 of a mile away in some neighbouring fields. The dog is stood on the edge of the bed, bolt upright, silent. This little dog is normally vocal if it hears anything unusual, and she lays there, uneasy because she's never heard anything like this before. And several minutes pass, I don't know the exact time span, and it does it again. This unholy, ungodly, growling roar that's hard for this lady to describe because they'd never heard anything like it. We're talking something like a lion or a tiger, the velocity of whatever it was that they heard. Truly terrifying. But it's closer. And she now realises that it's just a few fields away. And all the time the dog is stood bolt upright, feet on the bed, looking out into the night. Large windows, no curtains drawn, there's no other properties around them, just looking out into blackness. At some point during this process, and we'll call it a process, this experience, she says to her husband, "Are you awake?" To which he replies words to the effect of, "Yes, I can hear it." And there's this strange communication taking place between them, where they're almost whispering side by side, because it's unnerved both of them. A few minutes pass, there's another huge roaring growl, only this time it's perhaps just a field away. Now they're getting anxious, now they're getting a little bit tense, because whatever it is the sound that it's making is absolutely terrifying. All the time the dog is stood bolt upright on the edge of the bed, it's not moving. So that's strange behaviour. It's almost as though the dog perceived something, or perceived whatever this animal was in the first place. They're both feeling very nervous. I think it's done it 3 to 4 times, and each time it's got closer and closer. The next time it does it, it's actually in their own fields. This huge growl, this huge roar. Like I say, it's hard to give an adequate description of what they heard and experienced. They were feeling really nervous by this point. The next time it did it, it's actually in their gardens. They know it is. They've listened to it transition all the way through the fields until it's in their garden. It's almost as though it's directing what it's doing at this couple. At which point the husband says, "I haven't locked the front door." How crazy is that? But they're out in the middle of nowhere. They're obviously comfortable and confident in their own surroundings. And the pair of them get up and slide a heavy sideboard to the bedroom door. Then they get back into bed and lay in silence, this uneasy silence that's overtaking them. There's no strange change in air pressure or anything, but there's fear in the air. And they hear it once again. And their driveway, very large driveway that could contain lots of cars, has been gravelled. But the lady explained to me that the gravel had been down many, many years, and it wasn't very thick. It had all been trodden down and pressed down with vehicles. But whatever this animal was, they could hear it walking. And it's bipedal, and there's crunch, crunch, crunch as it's walking along the gravel in the direction of their house. This is truly terrifying. This little dog that's vocal, that tells everybody it's there if anybody should try and intrude on the property, is just stood on the end of the bed doing nothing except observe and listen. It continues walking until it's stood directly below the bedroom window. This is a really tense, frightening moment for this couple, and it lets out the most blood-curdling growl, roar, however you want to describe it, into the ether. Absolutely terrifying, reverberating growl that kind of shakes your insides. The couple are terrified, they're frightened. There's a stillness after the growl, and then moments pass, and then they hear it walking away in the direction that it came. It almost followed the same sequence of events as how it came, and it stopped at the edge of the gardens and growled and roared. A few minutes passed, it's in the fields. Another unearthly growl and roar, and the same sequence of events followed. It left the same way that it came. Now, I spoke to this lady probably 2 years ago, it could be longer, and I think I've only ever told this story once, maybe twice before. And I do hope that one day they feel confident enough to allow me to come to the property and view it and get a feel of how it must have been for them on that terrifying night. So for Truth Proof, I'll end it there. And don't forget, as always, if you like what I'm talking about, if you like the content, please press the like and subscribe. Totally free to do so, and it just helps us a little bit. Just gives us the incentive to keep putting these short accounts of the strange and unusual out. And there he is. Goodbye. Thank you. Hello. I just want to share the outlines of a terrifying account that took place several years ago in the grounds of a country house here in East Yorkshire. Huge howls in the night that started probably 3/4 of a mile away and advanced closer and closer towards the property, ending underneath the bedroom window of the actual home where a couple lay listening to this monstrous creature growling. What was it? Was it some kind of werewolf, some kind of dog man? Who can say? But if you want to hear more about this account, tune into Truth Proof on YouTube. I'm Paul Sinclair. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Hello, Paul Sinclair here for Truth Proof. And I want to share the outline of a strange and unusual account from East Yorkshire. It involved a couple laid in their own bedroom in a secluded house in the country. First of all, they hear the huge roaring growl of an animal about 3/4 of a mile away. And over the course of about 30 minutes, this animal advanced closer towards their property, finally ending up below the bedroom window of this large country house and letting out a huge roaring howl. All of the time, they're laid in bed absolutely terrified. If you want to hear a more detailed account of this story, visit our YouTube channel, which is called Truth Proof, and we'll be putting it out there. So for Truth Proof, I'll end it there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.